why do we, grab like this and you try to block? Well, the idea of the block is right, but later on that block becomes something else, right? And he opened what I thought I knew, he just expanded it to a whole new thing. And I never forget, I called Joe Jennings. I said, Joe Jennings, is there any way I can redo this? Like 5 years later. And he's like, no, dude, it's all done.
This one really is a story with Sensei right now, because you're quite famous, at least in the world of martial arts, for the Panther videos. I mean, I don't know if that's where, outside of your own studies, maybe the larger world got to know you. But the Panther videos, they're definitely part of martial arts history. And I want to just talk about that time for you, like a story with Sensei. Where were you when you got approached to that? What did it do for you? I don't even know where to start. Let's start with, where were you and how did you get approached to do the Panther series?
Well, the Panther has just come out. It was a few years it was out, and they were really big, and they were, doing all the big shots of all the martial arts and representation from the best in their styles, And I remember Sensei Benny had done a series for kickboxing, and I met Joe Jennings at a tournament.
Okay.
And so I was competing, and I remember I walked up to Joe Jennings, and I introduced myself, said hello, and he looked at me, goes, "Hey, that was pretty good form, whatever," and whatever it was. Then I thought to myself, and I went, I'm just gonna, try to ask him something.
So you went to him?
I went to him. I went to Joe Jennings, and I said, Sensei Jennings, because he's a great martial artist himself.
Okay.
And I said, Sensei Jennings, I've noticed that you don't have Hapkido as one of your styles in your system yet. And I was wondering what it takes, but let me honest the truth. Let me tell you. I was thinking about, because in that time I was thinking about, Master Han. So Bong Han would be a great person, to go to. I didn't go in. I mean, the part of me wanted to be selfish and do it myself.
Right.
But I knew, I was like, oh my God, Master Han, there's Steve Sexton. There's a few people I know that I could hook you up, because I'm a Hapkido stylist.
Right.
And I remember talking to him. He said, okay, I'll be interested, but let's come down to the office. We'll talk. And his office was in San Clemente, it was an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So I called, and we made an appointment, went over there and talked. And he said, we're considering Master Han, talked to him about it. There's a few other people, but what about you? And I went, well, not really. Like, I'm not like, I'm not a Hapkido master.
Right.
And he goes, well, I've seen you move, but you communicate really well. And I like to do a trial shot. I want to do a video. Are you ready today? Can you do one? And I said, sure. What do you want me to do? Was teach, 5 techniques. And I want to see how that represents, Hapkido. Can you talk about that?
Right.
So I did a couple techniques, did a couple kicks. He goes, okay, I'm going to watch this and I'll get back to you. Next day he called me. He goes, I think we're going to do it with you. And I was like, holy shit, are you serious? After Productions. And, but again, in back of my mind was, I was being proactive.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, thinking, God, am I, did I, too much that I can chew, like biting into a little too much, And I remember I talked to my brother, and my brother's like, this is an opportunity. Don't pass it on.
Right.
I think, you could do this, you'll go out there and do your best. I talked to Steve about it, and Steve was supportive, but he wasn't like, that big of a thing for him. He was like, go ahead and try it. Let's see what happens,
Right.
And I did it. I went and I did the first. We shot 4 different times, different things, and we shot the first self-defense series. Then as soon as I did the kicks one, which was dynamic kicks, that's where Joe Jennings went crazy. He was like, dude, you're a white guy. We never thought that white guys could kick like that, So we want to do more, And so then they started, in that time, they videoed and you couldn't see the playback.
Right.
They did it, and they did it in beta or
Yes,
whatever. They,
beta,
did
digibeta,
the VHS. Anyway, so whatever we shot, I didn't get a chance to see what I'd done or how I did it, whatever.
Right.
But he was like, we got to try some new things with your videos. I'm like, what do you mean new things? He goes, well, we just learned how to do slow motion. This is like 84.
Okay.
So so it was one of the first ones that when I was doing the kicks with Panther, they did it in slow motion. So you could see that, impact and all this stuff, And I remember, doing all the techniques and stuff, and Joe Jennings saying, there's more? Like, dude, there's more? Like, how long is it going to go? I said, Jennings, I can go, keep going, you know. And he said, do you want to take a break? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to keep going. And it's like, okay, let's go, And, but I think he liked the fact that I didn't demand like to be treated different and stuff. I would just normal, doing my stuff. And that's what Joe Jennings told me. He goes, Farbus, you're good. You just don't know it. And your life will change after these videos. And I'm like, oh, right, whatever. I was thinking was, what did I do wrong,
Right.
And it's funny because when the videos came out, started selling. Then I finally ordered a copy come back to me, and I had him in my hand. I'm going, oh my God, there's like 6 VHSs.
I think he saw in you what you started at, though.
No, he did.
Saw that you're a teacher, and that's what he was really trying to do too, right?
Yeah, I think he did. And I tell you, one of the things after that came out a few years later is when I made a decision. I said, do I want to be the best martial artist ever, or do you want to be the best teacher ever? So the question was, which one is going to make the most impact on people?
Right.
And my personal life. And I chose really to go towards, but what I was really proud about is that Master Bong Chuan, rest in peace, who was the gentleman who brought Hapkido to the United States, he had the option to do it. And when he heard that I was doing it, I had just met him and talked to him, introduced myself to him. And he had said, Hapkido needs new blood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
I was really impressed by that.
But how did you feel?
I mean, I'm not this is not a matter of being prejudiced or anything, but, I got a lot of heat from a lot of Koreans who said, why is this guy representing a system that's Korean? There's so many people that are, and Joe Jennings was like, watch the tapes. And he told me, he goes, if anybody ever tell you that, tell them to watch the tapes. And
That's a good look.
And you know what I mean? And so Master Han that's how I knew what a gracious gentleman, he was. And I think about 10 years later, Panther did a series with Master Han, which is wonderful. I'm so glad there's some documentation of his art. But, my Hapkido and his Hapkido are very different.
Right.
Our point of references were different.
Right.
And our styles are very different. But I never, everybody started comparing. And so it's funny, let me just say this about the comparison. Santo Dad Santo, which is Guru, one of my great teachers and people that I look up to, has, when you go into a school, and he teaches many different styles, and he'll ask you, we teach this style. Everybody's like, well, what's the difference between Kali and Silat? And his answer is he'll walk you up to 2 posters in his office. There's a beautiful, huge poster of Joshua Tree, and there's one of Yosemite. You know what I mean? And he goes, which one is more beautiful?
That's
right. You know what I mean? And so again, it was like, so when I stopped comparing, literally, and started thinking, oh my God, look at this stuff that I can do differently. But what it came down to, it was the same thing.
Yep.
They're all, there's so many different ways you can, twist, turn the wrist, you know what I mean? And they're all great at different times,
Yep.
Now, sometimes we get caught in the tradition of, well, we used to do it this way. Till I never forget this. There was a I don't exactly know where. I think it was Burbank Airport. There's a poster or something on a wall that says something about the worst words in English language is we've always done it this way.
Yes. Right.
That's just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean, it's
That's
always
the ham that we did earlier.
Exactly. So we talk about just being different, do something differently, and so that's where the Panther came. And after that, literally, well, the social media wasn't there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, oh my God, I couldn't wait every month to get the Black Belt magazine. And I remember the first time I saw the Panther ads, it was, Sensei Benny, there was Bill Wallace, then there was like mine.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, the same page, and whatever. But,
there had to be more than all, when you saw that, because you're seeing Benny and you're seeing these people, like, 6 months earlier, did you ever suspect that would even be
Not
anything?
At all.
When did you see, so you're all excited about it, but when did you see, or did you see results from it? Let me ask you that. When was the first time you saw the results? And did you? Did you see change?
I mean, I think the biggest thing was as soon as the ads came out in Black Belt magazine and all that stuff, or when I would travel or go somewhere, or somebody would stop by and say, hey, you're the one that did the Panther ones, but I used to get stuff from the, students of the Korean masters who always say, oh, yeah, we know you did the Hapkido, say whatever, and I never paid attention to it. But I'm just looking back at it. I was so cynical. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that technique like that. I should have done it like this, because I never had a playback. They never gave me a chance to look at the edited version. It just came out, know. But I was like, oh my God, I should have done this. I could have kicked higher. I could have whatever.
When you traveled later, though, when you went to dojos, or did they come back like you're the like?
Oh yeah, they would. I mean, I remember when people say, oh my God, thank you so much. We love that we're teaching some of the time. I'm like, are you serious? Like mine, And so then 3 years later is when I met Jihan Jae.
Okay.
So I didn't know Jihan Jae. So when Jihan Jae come to San Francisco so I can start taking lessons from him, his first thing was, I've seen your tapes.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh God, he's going to bag on him, And but his whole thing was, he's trying to be nice. It's like, it's different. But you need to understand more of the techniques. I don't think I think you memorize really well.
So he gave you an honest. He was dead honest.
Yeah, and he would, he actually, I never forget one of the times he actually sat with me. We did the techniques, and he looked at him. He goes, "Oh, this was good. This was good. This was good. Let's go over this one. I can teach you better angles. I don't think you understand angles. This wouldn't work. I think we can do better than this." And he kept going, and I'm like taking notes in my hand. Okay, which one?
That's fascinating to me.
Oh yeah.
You did the Panther videos, and then you end up there with him, looking at the videos, and he's helping you work on your form from those videos.
Absolutely. And he would say, "No, we can do better than that, and let's talk about this one," and that's where I think I had maybe the framework, but I never understood a lot of the stuff. And he opened my eyes. Like, he was like, do you know why we do it this way? I'm like, no. And he was like, okay, well, let me show you. This is the reason why, And I never knew, it was kind of stupid, but to this date, a lot of people do outside wrist, inside wrist, grab both hands. And I always think to myself, people ask, who's going to come and grab your wrist, whatever. But Jihan Jae was like, it's not about grabbing the wrist. It's about me and you fighting. I go to grab my sword to pull it out. What do? You stop my hand.
Right.
You grab my wrist to stop my hand from pulling my sword out. That's why the outside wrist is so important, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Now I see.
Or, why do we, grab like this and you try to block? Well, the idea of the block is right, but later on that block becomes something else, right? And he opened what I thought I knew, he just expanded it to a whole new thing. And I never forget, I called Joe Jennings. I said, Joe Jennings, is there any way I can redo this? Like 5 years later. And he's like, no, dude, it's all done.
That's amazing.
And it's done.
What a way.
So good, if you want to do it, do your own thing. Nobody even thought about that time doing my own videos. Are you kidding?
That's great.
Anyway, so Panther was a great opportunity for me. And I never... forget, Joe Jennings for giving me that opportunity. and for myself to give myself a little credit to taking it.
Oh, yeah,
You know
that's
what I
you
mean?
went after
So
it.
that, yeah, exactly. But I think God has done that a few times for me. Provides ways,
Right.
to move on, take it
Absolutely.
to the next level.